So I'm going to explain a little bit about the Russkiy toy. They're not really well known here in Canada, so I'm just going to explain a little bit about their history and kind of an overview. The Russkiy, or the Russian toy as they're known elsewhere, began in the 18th century when the English toy terrier, the toy Manchester, arrived in Russia. They were favored by the aristocracy due to their small size and lively temperament. In the 20th century, the number of English toy terriers in Russia had grown considerably, and they began referring to them as the Russian toy terriers. They were almost wiped out, however, during the Russian Revolution in the early 1900s. And breeding was not encouraged due to their being a sign of the aristocracy or the previous regime. As a result, by the mid-1900s, there were very few left in Russia, and most, if not all, their pedigrees were lost as a result of the revolution. There were some dedicated people, however, that tried to continue to breed, but lack of gene pool necessitated introducing other breeds to try to maintain that look and function of what they had left. So they took the best of the toy Manchester, the Chihuahua, the Papillon, and a few more. Bred well and consistently, and they had the foundation of today's Russkiy toy. They were all smooth-coated at the time. However, in 1958, whether it was by a mutation of the gene or an introduction of another breed, a unique long-coated puppy was born to two smooth-coat parents and became the foundation of the modern-day long-haired variety of the Russkiy toy. They were named the Moscow Long-Haired Toy Terrier, and in 1980s it was declared that the two were indeed the same breed, but were in fact varieties in that single breed. Eventually, the two variations were both referred to as the Russian Toy Terrier, and in time the word terrier was dropped from the breed's name, and they are now referred to as the Russian Toy or the Russkiy Toy Dog, with both long and smooth-coated varieties and shown together in the same ring. As this is a fairly new breed, and certainly new to the Americas, we have much more to learn about the Russkiy toys. A few dogs began trickling into the US in the late 1900s and early 2000s, but only a handful until 2008. As there was a language barrier with the Russians who created them, not all information has been gathered even yet. The Russian toy was extremely rare outside of Russia, and still is. Interest was and still is growing daily in the US as breeders and fanciers find their way to this wonderful breed. In 2008, the Russian toy was accepted into the AKC's Foundation stock service, and at that point it moved forward. These will be the only official records that mattered in the USA. This was the first stage required for ultimate breed recognition with the American Kennel Club. In 2013, there was an estimated 350 in the US, including both pedigreed and non-pedigreed, with approximately 254 Russian toys recorded with the American Kennel Club's Foundation stock service. The AKC official standard of the Russian toy was approved July 14, 2017, and went into effect the following year, June 27, 2018. Since that point, the Russian Toy Club of America consistently moved forward with meeting the AKC requirements for moving into the miscellaneous class. They are now fully recognized in the US and have enjoyed steady growth with this breed. I became very interested in bringing this breed into Canada in 2020 and started researching for breeders here in Canada, only to find a sad lack of enthusiasm. Of course, I was initially stymied because I was trying the CKC for information on the Russian toy, only to discover that here in Canada they are considered Russkiy toys. But the only information that I could glean from the CKC was the standard, which had come into effect July 2016, and that they were listed as miscellaneous in the toy group. There was no list of breeders at all. After numerous phone calls and texts to Russian Toy Club of America, I was able to obtain the names of some people who may have Russian toys here in Canada. After numerous unanswered messages and emails, I finally had contact with two people back east. One had Russkiy toys but was not breeding, and they were just her pets. She gave me the name of two other people who did have Russkiy toys and were breeding. I tried to contact both. To this day, one has not replied to me from my numerous emails and telephone messages, although I know they are actively breeding, but they are not breeding registered stock. The other one had a pup available, but she did not breed for show or for breeding. I did not want a pet. I wanted to start right with something that I could show and would become my future foundation stock in this new breed. I don't have much information regarding the start of interest here in Canada, as most of my information regarding the breed has stemmed from my US contacts and through the Russian Toy Club of America, of which I'm a member. Suffice it to say, I finally did reach one of the original people who imported show quality dogs, and in 2017 did show her dogs in the miscellaneous class, finishing at least one of them. She was also part of trying to start a national club here in Canada, which fizzled out due to lack of interest and COVID. So from that time forward, the Russkiy toy has not been promoted in Canada, other than a couple of people back east breeding toy pet dogs without registration of such. There may have been more people, but I could not find them. In 2021, I imported 2 dogs from Europe by way of my contacts in the RTCA and started to show them here on Vancouver Island. And since then, I purchased 4 more from the US. While actively showing them, I finished my original breeding pair just this past year and have pointed another. Over a year ago, I started advertising for interested people to contact me regarding forming a national club. One such person was a lady who had been part of their start here in Canada around 2017. So you can imagine how many questions I had for her. I found a person in Nova Scotia who started showing a couple of imports from the US, and other than myself, as far as I know, was the only other person taking Russkiy toys into the show ring. I do know of one person in Quebec who does take hers into agility, and another in Quebec who purchased an American Champion male and is now breeding, although I don't know if she's showing yet. Then there is me here on the West Coast. And more recently, another person on Vancouver Island who just started with a Russkiy toy in confirmation. We also found a married couple in Prince George who bred a litter from their first generation Russian pair. It was very hard for Sandra and I to talk them into selling us the 2 boys of the litter. But we are delighted to have pure Russian pedigrees here in Canada, as it's impossible to do so now. They were lucky to get in just before the registration ban on Russian dogs. So gradually, with perseverance, the Russkiy toy is gradually expanding here in Canada. The import laws make it very difficult for small hobbyists as myself to import new blood for a healthy gene pool. But we're trying, and that's what counts. So far, most of our information regarding the history has come from the RTCA, but hopefully we will be making our own history here in Canada going forward. And next year, you will be seeing more of us in the Canadian show ring. The Russkiy toy was voted in for full recognition in Canada in November 2022, but so far we have not heard anything from the AG regarding this, so we must still compete in the miscellaneous ring in the toy group. I've been pleasantly surprised when judges say they've seen the breed, but often are unfamiliar with judging the breed. So how does one define breed type to someone who has never seen a Russian toy, let alone has approximately 3 minutes to make an all-important choice when judging the breed? Breed type is usually defined and assessed in a quick glance, which generally includes silhouette, outline and appearance, breed character, bone structure, and movement. Many toy breeds share common characteristics among themselves, not just variants of breeds. The CKC has a standard for the Russkiy toy in place since 2016 and is almost word for word to the AKC standard, although the disqualifications vary. So what was the blueprint for the Russkiy toy standard? The FCI standard was used, and the first thing we learn about the general appearance of the Russkiy toy is that it is a small, elegant, lively, long-legged with fine bones and lean muscles. Sexual dimorphism only slightly defined. One of the truly important aspects of the breed is their character. After all, the Russkiy toy is a companion breed foremost. The standard describes the RT to be active, cheerful, intelligent, slightly aloof to strangers, but not timid or aggressive. The behavior is significantly different between males and females. What? What does that mean? Well, Russian breeders apparently found the male to be more loyal and the females to be more independent. And this sounds very familiar to me because in 45 plus years of breeding and showing Shetland sheepdogs and numerous talks with handlers, other breeders, they all say the same thing. This is nothing new with both males and females. Everyone seems to love their males, and the females are more independent. Urban legend tells us that the statement was included in the FCI standard also because of the high demand for females and both males being devalued and overlooked. So then we go on to actually the standards. Now the AKC and the CKC standard are almost word for word. The only difference is some of their faults and their disqualifications. And I really suggest to everyone that you look to the CKC standard, download it, compare it with the AKC standard, download it, and really go by the disqualifications and the faults, because if you're going to be showing both stateside and Canada, you're going to need to know what you can and cannot show in either country. The FCI standard has been revised from when they first used it to form the standards, both the CKC and the AKC, and it allows for different color variances that is not in our standards. However, the only disqualification of color is a brindle, so that is left to the judge's discretion. Other than that, there's really not that much difference in the standards of both countries. So I really suggest that if you're interested in a Russkiy toy, do your research, contact me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about the Russkiy toy. I research the breed, look at the standards, go to dog shows that if you know that they're being shown. I know that they are shown here on the Vancouver Island and in Nova Scotia and down in the States. If you're down in the States, go to some dog shows, take a look at them, talk to breeders. If you're really interested and you're up in Canada, it's so much easier for you to purchase from a Canadian dog. And like I said, we are really trying to expand our gene pool, even with the limitations of our import laws. So it's great been talking to you. I hope this helps you in your search for Russkiy toys, and over and out.